It's the CalebDMTG show.
Yes, the way that I do my set reviews is I do them in white, blue, black, red, green, and then colorless gold lands at the end. I do a quick break in between all colors. Make sure I rest my mouth a little bit. There's a lot of talking involved, reading off every card. In general, I review rares and mythics towards constructed, because you don't open them in limited very often, and they're usually going to be bombs in limited. And then commons and uncommons. Most of them aren't going to see constructed play, so I review them for limited play. Usually don't spend too much time on filler cards. Spend a little bit more time on role players. Or build rounds. Anyway, with that out of the way. Let's dive in, huh? Dive into white here. Further clarification. I have not seen most of the spoilers. I've read like 8 spoilers out of the set. So usually I do a complete read through of the set before I do my set review, and then I have like some idea going in. This is going to be a first reaction / review. So chat's input is going to be very important. Correct me when I misread cards, that sort of thing. Because that happens. That happens on a first read. Anyway, Adeline Resplendent Cathar, 1 white legendary creature, human knight, vigilance. Star 4. Its power is equal to the number of creatures you control. Whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped at attacking that player or planeswalker they control. Huh. So it's sort of like a slightly juiced up Grimaz, huh? Not quite as chonky when it first comes down, but it has the power to be much bigger. And then the ability is also scaled for multiplayer. EDH, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, Grimaz saw a bit of standard play when it was last around, and people tried it in Modern and such. Never really did a lot. Hey, just Macy, thanks for the $20. You're welcome for the review. We're 1 card deep, but you're very welcome. Anyway, I mean, if white anthems are good enough in standard, this will probably see some play. Solid card is solid, right? Ambitious Farmhand, 1 white, 1/1, creature human peasant. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put in your hand. Love that. Love that. Coven, 1 white, transform it. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Coven seems like the sort of ability that's like very easy to turn on in limited, like the early limited mid-game. And a little bit more finicky in constructed. Not impossible in constructed, but in constructed, a lot more of your opponents are just gonna be like killing all of your stuff, you know? A little bit less consistent there, maybe. Anyway, what's the other side? Oh, just 3/3 lifelink. Sweet. Yeah, this card's cool. The fact that it's got value on that comes into play, and then can scale. I feel like the decks that want value, the constructed decks that want the value, that want the land card to hand when it comes into play, I feel like those decks aren't going to be as good at activating the Coven, though, and those decks aren't going to care about having a 3/3 lifelink as much. But I could be wrong. Maybe there's some mid-range deck that wants this. Sweet limited card, though, for sure. Beloved Beggar, 1 white. 0/4. Disturb 4 white. You may cast this card from your graveyard transformed for its disturb cost. That was the flip side, right? Flying Vigilance, if you put in the graveyard for anywhere, exile it. Yeah, it's cool. I guess the issue with playing this card in limited is just actually getting into their graveyard, right? Your opponent has to be attacking with the 4X, or you need to have a way to, like, sacrifice it or loot it away somehow. Not a constructed card. Hey, sup, everybody. Everyone's saying hi, I see you. Much love. Hey, but the Biba thinks the solving's for 34 months. Bereaved Survivor, 2 and white for a 2/1. Whenever another creature you control dies, transform it. That's pretty straightforward. And the backside is Dauntless Avenger. Whenever it attacks, return target creature with mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. That's pretty sweet. So if you have Bereaved Survivor in play, and a sack outlet, like a Carrion Feeder or something, and a 2-drop, you can like sack the 2-drop, flip this, get in, immediately get the 2-drop back. Could lead to some sudden burst in value turns. This is the sort of card that I think is like almost constructed playable, but probably isn't going to be quite there. Costing 3, being like a little vulnerable, that sort of thing. Cool card though, super cool card. The bar for being playable in limited is higher. I think because it's only getting back stuff that costs 2 or less, and because the base stats like aren't that impressive, I don't think it's gonna be a high pick in limited. I don't think it's gonna be bomby. I don't think it's gonna be like an embarrassing 3rd or 4th pick or something like that. But it's not gonna be like a premium card, I don't think. Yeah, 3 mana 3/2 is pretty fragile. But, I mean, if you attack and you trade and you get something back, then it's worth it, right? Plus Defiance. This is a reprint, that name sounds familiar. 1 white, instant, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and has lifelink until end of turn. When it dies, you get a spirit. Yeah, that's fine. Usually these pump abilities are more about, like, letting the creature survive, and this card doesn't do that at all. Very fillerish in my opinion. I like this art though, I like the perspective a lot. That's really cool. Borrowed Time, 2 and white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it's just no ring. Yeah, removal's good. You think I'm thinking of Blessed Alliance or Collective Defiance? I probably am. It's just like a very similar name.
Oh shit, what up?
But yeah, I don't recognize the card, now that I read what it does. Hey, FK Sandwich, thanks for the 36 months there, the 3 years. The O-Ring's good, shows up in Constructed sometimes. Obviously, a great limited card. Quality removal is always good. You can first pick it if you want. You can pick it later if you want. Anyway. Brutal Cathar, 2 and white. Human Soldier Werewolf, 2/2 rare. When this creature enters the battlefield or transforms into Brutal Cathar, exile target creature and opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. And then, I'm gonna ask chat for a little bit of help here. I don't actually know the ruling on how Daybound and Nightbound work. Does anyone have a link to an explanation handy, or can they explain it? Does the card leave play to switch? Or does it just like the old werewolf thing? Hey, Empty Chair, thanks for the 24 months. And AFK Sandwich, thanks for the 36. Oh, there is a link. Sweet. Daybound and Nightbound are triggered abilities tied to a number of spells cast by the active player, activating day or night designations, thus allowing the cards to be transformed at the beginning of the next turn. When the game starts, it's neither day nor night. In most games, it'll become day first, the most common way that happens if a permanent with Daybound appears on the battlefield. So it like comes into play, now it's day. In some uncommon cases, it may become night first because a permanent with Nightbound appears first. Sure. Once it's day or night, the game will be exactly one of those designations, day or night, going back and forth till the game ends. It can never return to being neither. But there can be cards, if there's like no cards in play that care about it, then it stops mattering. That is interesting though, that like, you could kill a... kill something that cares about it, and then does that impact with the next thing that comes into play? Oh, I'm going to explain that now. If it's day, each double-faced card with Daybound and Nightbound will enter the battlefield with its Daybound face up. If it's night, each of them will enter Nightbound face up. Sweet. It stops mattering if nobody ever plays anything that's Daybound or Nightbound going forward, Anarchy. Probably unlikely to happen in Limited, but could have it constructed. But yeah, it looks like it does matter for future cards. That's kind of sweet. Complicated, but sweet. 2 ways for the game's day-night designation to change. If it's day as the turn begins, and the previous turn's active player didn't cast a spell last turn, so the normal werewolf stuff becomes night. Similarly, if it's night as the turn begins, if the previous turn's active player cast 2 or more spells last turn, becomes day. And then we got a helper card to remind us if it's day or night. Oh boy. Can I get a helper card for when I review this fucking set, so I don't keep forgetting how this works? Yeah, a lot of nice transforms. Cool. Well, back to the review. So when it enters the battlefield or transforms, you exile a creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it comes into play. It O-rings the opponent's creature, and then if we cast no spells and flip it, it gets to O-ring another creature. That seems fucking awesome. Oh, it has to flip back to the day side. It specifies, it says Brutal Cathar. Fair enough. So it comes into play, you exile something, and then you have to flip it, and then it has to flip back. So what's more likely to happen is that you play it as the night side, and then it flips over, and they want to make sure that you still get to exile something. So you could potentially get repeated value out of this, but it's hard. And then you get super fucked by removal? Yeah, I mean, I guess. Candlegrove Witch. 1 into white, creature, human, warlock, coven. Beginning of combat on your turn. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, gains flying until end of turn. Cool. Yeah, limited cards that can gain evasion, especially as 2-drops. It's gonna be solid. I feel like original Innistrad literally had a card like that. A 2-mana 2/2 that gained flying if some condition was met. My poor old man brain doesn't quite remember its name, but yeah, this card's solid. Solid little role player. Fill out your curve. It's not going to be like an early pick or anything like that, but nice in a aggressive deck. Having things scale is always good. Always something to look for. Candle Trap. 1 white, enchantment aura. Gets Defender. Prevent all combat damage to be dealt by enchanted creature. And then Coven, 2 white, sacrifice and exile enchanted creature. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Yeah, this card's sweet. On its base, it looks like way worse of a removal spell than like something like Borrowed Time, because it's more conditional. And it is a worse removal spell, but it's closer than it looks. The efficiency of being able to play it for just 1 mana at first, and then being able to turn on Coven, I expect, will not be that difficult in Limited. So this is going to be cool. It's going to be like a removal spell that you can expect to get a little later, which is always good. Because a lot of times aggro decks have to prioritize, you know, their curve and having the right sorts of threats. Can't necessarily grab every removal spell you see. Hey, Cathar Commando. Oh, and not to say this is only good in aggro, right? Obviously, a 1-mana enchanted creature as defender card is gonna be better in control. It's just like a great control card by itself. Usually you're not pure control and limited though, is why this sort of effect usually goes a little bit later. Alright, Cathar Commando, 1 and a white, 3/1 flash human soldier. You can sacrifice it to pop an artifact or enchantment. Interesting little collection of abilities here on this 2-mana 3/1. It is more exciting than the usual 2-mana 3/1. Usually a 2-mana 3/1 doesn't excite me too much, because you just play it, and even though its stats are nice, it just trades with whatever your opponent played. Even if they play a total piece of shit, it's trading with your 2-drop. This one has that additional utility though. You can flash it in to trade up, like if your opponent's attacking with a 4/3. If your opponent has a 4/3 and you have a 3/1, they're just gonna like chill until they can like deadweight your card or something. They're not gonna offer a trade, but the flash makes that easier. You can also use it as an instant speed disenchant. If your opponent's got some buff aura on their thing, flash it in. If they've O-ringed your permanent, right? They've like put your 6/6 under a borrowed time, and then they attack, you can flash this in, kill it, get your thing back. That's a really good point. Yeah, the flash creatures are really good for flipping your wolves. Or keeping your opponents from flipping. If a spell wouldn't have been played, like end of turn, play my 3/1. Your opponent could be like time walking themselves to try and flip all their wolves, and then you just get them. You can't stop your opponents from flipping. Oh my god. See, I knew I would get these rules wrong. I knew it. This is why the chat's very important. Very important for the first impressions. It only cares about active player. During their own turn. Okay. Yeah. See, my brain was shortcutting it to work, to function like old werewolf stuff. But it's different. You can't interrupt your opponent's werewolf things. Well, that's way less feel bad, at least. At least you can, like, plan on your abilities working. And if you take a full turn off playing a spell, you actually, like, get your card effects. Your opponent can't just be like, I play a thing twice. Your entire turn was wasted. Get wrecked, nerd. Yeah, that makes werewolves a lot better. Everybody in the world who's been like closely following the spoilers is way ahead of me on this. And I'd like to apologize for that, but it is what it is. Doing this is gonna make me a lot better in the first few weeks of Limited. I'm gonna actually know what's up instead of just fumbling around, running stuff. LSV also got it wrong. Ah, see. Yeah, I was just following in his footsteps. Anyway, cool card. Not a first pick, you know, I mean, it is a 2-mana 3/1, the disenchant stuff, so I wouldn't take it too early, but I'm way more likely to draft this than pretty much any other 2-mana common 3/1 that I've seen. Cathar's Call, 2 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has vigilance in at the beginning of your end step. Create a 1/1 human creature token. Huh. So, you're likely to get at least 1 token out of this. Be it because your opponent's got sorcery speed removal, or because they're tapped out. But like, a single 1/1's not very good. And vigilance isn't an amazing ability. Like, you're not gonna like win combat on that turn just from giving something vigilance for a turn. Now, if it lives, obviously it's great, you know? You don't need to get many 1/1s out of this before it becomes worthwhile. Like, once you're at 2, it's fine. Once you get 3, it starts to become actively good. Yeah, there's just that huge risk involved. Unless you can protect the creature somehow, I would not value this card very highly at all. Oh, I forgot to talk about Cathar Commando for Constructed. I think this is actually throwing the disenchant ability on it means that you should consider it for your Constructed decks, right? Even if it's just a sideboard card. worth thinking about. It's gonna depend on the format, obviously. Celestus Sanctifier, 2 and a white, creature human cleric. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as it enters the battlefield. Sure. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your graveyard. Oh, cool. So it doesn't flip itself. It just gives you filtering. White doesn't usually get filtering, and this is repeated filtering. I think this is a good card. You look at the top 2 cards of them, two cards of your library, and put one in your graveyard. So that's useful for Graveyard Matters effects, which, I mean, it's an Innistrad set, so there's going to be a bunch. We already saw one with Disturb here. So it's not just filtering, but you're also turning on your Graveyard Matters stuff. I think this might be like a really good common. Like, I think if you trigger this once, it's a good card. And if you trigger it multiple times, it starts to become very good. The bottom ability does not trigger when it comes into play. So the bottom ability says whenever day becomes night or night becomes day. When it comes into play and it was neither night nor day, it's just like becoming day from nothing. It's not becoming day from night. So it needs to switch once it's in play. I think, yeah. So it won't trigger itself. Chaplain of Alms. White creature human cleric, first strike. Ward 1, disturb 3 and a white. Well, that front side's not very impressive. You should not be playing 1-mana 1/1s, but it does have that graveyard value. Yeah, you don't need much. You don't need much for the graveyard value to matter. Now this seems quite good, right? It becomes a 2/1 flying first strike. It gives all of your creatures Ward 1. Yeah, this card seems quite good to me. Doesn't become day when it enters. The Sanctifier, it does become day when it enters. But it doesn't become day from night, so it doesn't trigger itself still. Your opponent's unlikely to want to kill it. Yeah, but I mean, your 1-mana 1/1 is going to die in combat at some point, and then you'll have a sweet flyer. Almost a white weenie card for constructed. Not quite, I don't think. Just because like a 1-mana 1/1 is not amazing. But you got that value. You got that recursive value. Yeah, maybe it's fine. I'm happy with this card in limited. I don't know how aggressively I'm drafting it. But if I'm already some like white creature-based aggro deck, I'm grabbing it pretty highly, I'd imagine. Not a bomb, just good. Not taking it over quality removal, but taking it over most trash. Clarion Cathar is 3 white, 3/3. Enters the battlefield, get a 1/1. Sure. Yeah, it's filler, but it's good filler, right? 4 power, 4 toughness, 4 mana. 2 different bodies if you're spreading out power and toughness buffs. Anthems and such. Also a Human Knight, in case those abilities matter. Human usually does on Innistrad. Curse of Silence. White, enchantment, or a curse. Enchant player. In his battlefield, choose a card name. Spells with the chosen name. Enchanted player casts cost 2 more to cast. And whenever they cast a spell with the chosen name, you may sacrifice your Curse of Silence if you do draw a card. Weird little ability. So this is I don't think this is designed for limited play. It's a rare for one, and then you also have to like choose the right card name that's like less likely to happen. Less likely to happen in limited than constructed. I think the idea is you play Curse of Silence, and you make either like a combo piece or a sweeper cost 2 more. And then when they do manage to play their sweeper, you get to draw a card. I don't think that's very useful. Your opponent plays like 5 mana for their Anger of the God or whatever. Like you lose your board, it doesn't really matter if you get to draw a card. So I would imagine this one's a dud in all formats. Big old dudderino. Dualcraft Trainer, 3 to white. Creature, human, soldier, first strike. Coven at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Target creature control gains double strike until end of turn. That's pretty juicy. Yeah, 3/3 first strike seems like really solid base stats. Then being able to give something else double strike is nice. Give it to a flyer, get in lethal, sneak it on in. I feel like the 4-drops are really powerful in this set. Everything I've seen so far, from what I've seen of other folks talking about the format. Enduring Angel, 2 white, white, white. Flying double strike, you have hexproof. If your life total would be reduced to 0 or less, instead transform Enduring Angel, and your life total becomes 3. Then if it didn't transform this way, you lose the game. What? That last line's like kind of throwing me. Hey Bjorn, thanks for the 2 months there. You're very welcome for streaming. If it's killed in response, I guess. I mean, if it gets killed in response, you're already basically dead. Seems like a weird line to add on there. The last bit is just to prevent clone shenanigans that can't transform. Okay. I guess. Angelic Enforcer. Flying, you have hexproof. Its power and toughness are equal to your life total. Whenever it attacks, double your life total. Okay, and it sets your life total to 3. So it'll be a 3/3 at first. But then you attack, and it'll be a 6/6. That's a neat card. There's enough text on this that you gotta imagine it would be constructed viable. Maybe just a sideboard card for aggro mirrors or something. Maybe it'll just see niche play. Triple white's a lot. It's a lot of white mana. Obviously limited bomb, you know. Most rares and mythics are gonna be. Dies every kind of bolt. How many bolts are in standard? You think I'm talking about this for like modern? Come on. Fateful Absence. 1 and a white. Destroy target creature, planeswalker. Its controller investigates. Yeah, this card's sweet. I'm into it. You're giving the opponent value. I mean, we've seen this card before, right? As a sorcery that was also like really good against tokens. And it ended up being like a super good card because the 2 mana you're putting into answering their card, like if they spend 5 mana on a creature, and you spend 2 mana to answer it, yeah, they get a card, they get the clue that they can sack for value, but they don't necessarily have the time, right? They just invested so much. And them getting a card, you know, they could draw a card, it's just a land or whatever. It's not nearly as good as their Teferi or whatever you're destroying. Anyway, this one's also an instant. That's sweet. This one might even be good in control decks. I guess the last one was too. Although it saw more play in aggro, I think. Yeah, Deck and Stone, that's the one I'm talking about. Deck and Stone the better. Worse against tokens. Much worse against tokens, but being able to hit planeswalkers means that it's going to be better and constructed than Deck and Stone was, even, I think. And it's in speed, right? Certainly better than Doomblade. Alright, Flare of Faith. 1 white instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's a human, instead it gets +3/+3 and gains Indestructible until end of turn. That's quite a buff. +3/+3 and Indestructible. That's a hell of a combat trick. Obviously, you're not grabbing this unless you're aggressive. In Limited, I don't know how much the difference between +2/+2 and +3/+3 matters in the average combat. But +3/+3 and Indestructible is certainly better than +2/+2, right? Like your 3/3 trade with a fucking 6/6 or something. Or not even trade with, just fucking eat it. The Indestructible is really nice against removal too. So certainly better for humans. Cool. Sweet card. Again, this is not something that you're going to be picking super early. But when you're in the right deck for it, you're going to be happy to grab it. Gavany Dawnguard. 1 white, 3/3, human soldier, ward 1. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day when it enters the battlefield. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with manic value 3 or less from among them, put in your hand. The rest of your bottom. Rest on the bottom, put the rest on the bottom. In any order. So this also gets value from day becoming night and night becoming day. Similar to that common we were looking at. Only the common, like, is sort of surveilling 2, right? You're looking at the top 2 cards of your library and binning 1. Whereas Gavany Dawnguard is kind of getting like a... What is it, Midnight Guard that does that? Bugle Boy. That 3-mana 2/3. Looks at 4, I think. Militia Bugler. Is that the name? Anyway. 3-mana 3/3 with Ward 1 is better than a 3-mana 2/3 with Vigilance, though. And the ability to have repeated triggers is really nice. Hell, Bugler even like saw like a little bit of modern play. It got scaled out really fast, but people tried it for a little bit. Value's good. I like White getting these various sources of card advantage and selection. White usually doesn't get it. And it feels very flavorful. I'm trying to think if I would first pick this card. I think I would in a weaker pack. But it would have to be a weaker pack. Like, I wouldn't take this over like a quality removal spell. Gavany Silversmith, 3 white, 2/3 human soldier. When it hits the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each above 2 target creatures. Oh, that's sweet. So it can be a 3/4 itself and pump something else. Or it can pump 2 creatures that are attacking that turn. Yeah, it's that Basri card. It's no Basri's Lieutenant. It doesn't have lifelink. But, I mean, it's still good. Still a great one to curve into. We got a Tapper in Gavany Trapper. I feel like your white creature-based decks usually want at least one of these cards. Like, the first Gavany Trapper is really good. And then you can play the second one, but like the second and third one definitely have diminishing returns, because you only have so much mana to spend on tapping your opponent's things each turn. But having a Tapper is really nice. Sometimes it's even better than having a removal spell, because you can tap one of the opponent's creatures, then you untap and you tap something else.
Oh shit, what up?
A creature with a tap ability can also scale into the late game, right? So, early game, if you use a removal spell on a creature, you've burned that removal spell, and then your opponent plays a better creature, and you're fucked. A Tapper, you can tap something in the early game, then your opponent plays something better, and you're like, oh, I'll tap that instead. So that's always good, too. Obviously, just a limited card. Hey, Woodar, thanks for 54 months. Yeah, time to restart the review. Woodar just got here. What a merry joke! Hedge Witch's Mask, 1 white, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Can't be blocked by creatures power 4 or greater. Huh. So it's very easy to underestimate the impact of small piddly equipment like this, but I still lean myself towards underestimating it here.
Oh Oh shit, what up?
Yeah, the evasive ability just seems like kind of wonky to me. I guess if you're putting this on a mid-sized creature, like you put this on a 4/4 and your opponent can't block with their creatures that have power 4 or greater, and they have to like game block it with smaller creatures. That could be okay in some matchups. Hey, you rock and roll, thanks for 8 months there, appreciate you. It could force some more awkward blocks. And just having a 1 white, or just having a 1 mana equipment that gives something +1/+1 is better than it looks. So I might be underestimating it, but it doesn't seem great to me.
Oh shit.
We'll have to play with it. Hey Larry Bebo, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 2 months there. He is sort of like Skulk, yeah. Homestead Courage. I like that cleaver. I like all those farm weapons. I would not want to fuck with this group of individuals. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains vigilance until end of turn. It's got flashback. Man, this card is not as good as the, what was that green-white card that put 2 1/1 counters? That card was so messed up. Travel Prep, yeah. I mean, Travel Prep was its own archetype. It was so good. So this card is also probably quite good. It's not going to be like Travel Prep busted, but it does seem good. The 1 mana put 2 1/1 counters on a creature or split between 2 different creatures in a recent limited format. That one was pretty good with just like a pile of hawks, right? In your deck, there was like a pile of 1 mana flyers. That's probably where this card's gonna shine. Either in decks that can use the graveyard value because they're bidding cards consistently, or just like super aggressive, super tight curve. Get them. Intrepid Adversary. Yeah, this card is nutty. 1 in a white, Human Scout, 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 in a white any number of times. When you pay this cost, put that many Valor card counters on it. And then creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Valor counter. So if you cast this for 2 mana, you just have a 3/1 lifelink, which is fine. Not amazing, not playable in and of itself, but then the chance to play this for 4 in Anthem your squad, including itself, or 6, and get like a mini overrun effect, makes this card quite good for standard aggro decks. The fact that it's an enters the battlefield trigger, as opposed to a cast trigger, is really, really nice too, because it means that you don't have to like invest all your mana, only to get blown out by a soft counter. It's also kind of interesting with Aether Vial. Vial in for 2, pay 2 mana. I don't think that's going to be enough to make this like modern playable, but it is cute. Yeah, good card's good, right? Coco into it and pay the kicker. Yeah, that's a lot of mana though. That's a lot of mana for your Coco deck to have. Yeah, I also agree that the power is not really there for Eternal formats. It's close, though. Yeah, not even in Historic Humans, I don't think. That's probably the one where it's, like, the closest. But probably not even there. I don't know, the fact that you can fit multiple spots on your curve is sweet. Maybe worth testing. Alright, Loyal Griff. 2 and white, 2/2, flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. It's a bit below curve, but not terrible. The fact that it's got a flash means that you can flash it and save a creature from removal. Or you can do the bounce flicker thing. Block with a creature, flash in the Loyal Grift, bounce the blocking creature to save it. Good when it comes into play abilities, of course, just like any other blink effect. Neat little role player. Not a super early pick, but could be really cool in the right deck. Yeah, flash creatures, also helping you with control Nightbound and such. Is Windrake ever not playable? In some limited formats, I've had some Windrakes end up in my sideboard. Some of the more recent ones. But flyers are usually good, yeah. Lunarch Veteran, white, 1/1, creature human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. That's pretty hot. And then it's got Disturb on top of that. Well, this is already like a borderline historic playable card. What's the backside? Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 life. 1/1 flyer. So it doesn't trigger off your opponent's creatures. But yeah, maybe it's interesting. Maybe people that actually play the life deck in Historic would be a better judge of whether this is interesting or not. Value's value though, huh? Morning Patrol, 2 and white, 2/3, Vigilance, Disturb, 3 and white. Flying Vigilance, if you put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. All these Disturb cards made me kind of excited to play this format. Just the fact that your 1-drop, your 1 mana 1/1, that would normally not be good enough for limited, can come back as a flyer, which is usually very good in limited. I don't know, it makes a lot of these like otherwise fillerish cards look more exciting to me. Odric's Outrider, 3 and white, 2/4. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, put a 1 counter on target creature you control. That's some decent value. You do need to have the bodies. I don't think I would pick this card very highly. I feel like this ability is better in Sealed than Draft. Just because tempo tends to matter more in Draft. You have less time for your 4-mana 2/4 to like get its slow value over the course of a long game. Oh, it's clearly a powerful card. And good with stack outlets too. Give all your creatures modular, sort of. Black-white is stack focused. Nice. Well, maybe it's better than I thought then. If there's a dedicated sack archetype. Could be a high pick then. If you're going for that. Anyway. Ritual Guardian, 2 and white, 3/2. Coven, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, gains lifelink until end of turn. I think this is the most fillerish filler card I've seen. That doesn't really excite me very much. Incidental lifelink is better in limited than it is in constructed by a lot. Because most people are winning through combat. Even still. Easy to trade off with. Definitely in the just fine category. No evasion or value or anything like that. Ritual of Hope. 1 and a white, instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1. And then Coven. Turn more creatures with different powers. You get +2/+1 to let them turn instead. Yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be decks that have enough like token production and stuff that want this card. 2 mana is pretty cheap for +2/+1. It's your whole squad. Could potentially even play like 2 of these in a turn. I'm glad it's uncommon, not because of power level and stuff, but just so that you don't see as many of these clogging up the packs. There's only gonna be like a few decks that actually want this card, and they should be able to see it. If it gets opened in your draft, it should go around to the one deck that wants it. If someone is even drafting that deck. Search Party Captain, 3 and a white, 2/2, creature human soldier. Spell costs 1 less for each creature you attacked with this turn. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Oh, I like this card. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's like perfectly playable if you're in a board stall situation and not attacking. And then it's also like kind of sweet if you're curving out and being aggressive. Like rewards you for doing that. If you have a tempo draw. I don't know what the limit is on Search Party Captains that I would put into a deck, but I think it's pretty high. I think I would play a lot of this card. Because they can kind of chain together too. 1 mana Divination. Not quite. Not quite that. Yeah, a lot of white card draw. A lot of card draw and value and filtering going on in white so far. Should be a sweet format. Sigarda's Splendor, 2 white enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, note your life total. Oh, this fucking card. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if your life total is greater than or equal to the last noted life total for Sigarda's Splendor. Then note your life total. Whenever you cast a white spell, you gain 1 life. So, this card makes my brain hurt. And I don't know if it's any good or not. Next card. Sigardian Savior, 3 white, creature angel. Mythic, flying. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. 3/3. Okay, so you have to cast it, but then it does the evoked Lark thing, where you get 2 creatures with mana value. Well, it's gotta be mana value, not power. It's not as good as Lark's ability. And it's a Mythic. I don't know, this card seems like a little underpowered for a Mythic. Maybe I'm wrong. Value's value, right? Value's always good. I kinda wish it was like a 4/4 though or something. Yeah, 5 mana for a 3/3 is not that exciting. Like there's like commons and uncommons that are hitting that rate. A 3/4? A 3/4 would at least like be a little bit better in combat, right? Like it doesn't look like a mythic, or it doesn't look like a constructed card. And the stats aren't like quite powerful enough to make me really excited to open it in limited. Which overall makes me like not thrilled with it. I'll draft it. I will open it and draft it, but I could see taking some uncommons over it maybe. We'll see. We haven't seen the whole set yet. Yeah, there's like a 4/4 vigilance or something. Anyway, Soul Guide Griff. 4 and a white, creature Hippogriff Spirit, flying. On his battlefield, exile 1 target card from a graveyard. Yeah, this Mythic fucking loses to this common in combat. The fucking Hippogriff Spirit. Spirit's too strong. Hippogriffs over Angels confirmed. Yeah, I mean, 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer is pretty good stats. Pretty good Innistrad-ish stats. There's a lot of creatures that have that, like, residue value to get cheap flyers in the air. So having a 3/4 flyer for 5 is going to be better than it looks. Better than it looks on paper. Better than it would be in a different limited format. And then when it comes into play, you exile a card from a graveyard. And again, all these Graveyard Matters cards, the odds of you getting like actual value out of that ability is way higher in this set than it would be in like any other set. So this card can even be like a somewhat early pick out of a weaker pack. And I think you could put even like a few of them into a deck, and that'd be totally fine too. Sungold Barrage, 2 and a white, instant, destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Yeah, I mean even situational removal is still removal. So if your deck is light on removal, playing this as like a filler slot is fine. The more removal you have, the less excited you are about a removal spell that you have to like just line up correctly. This card should always be good in sealed, because your opponent's just going to have a target, right? Everyone's sealed curve is going to have some chunky top end. But in draft, there's a chance that it doesn't make the cut. If you need all your removal to be like efficient and good 100% of the time, so you can curve out with it. Make sure you can like always get a blocker out of the way. Sungold Sentinel, 1 and a white, human soldier. When enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. 1 and a white, choose a color. Gains hexproof from that color until end of turn and can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. Yeah. That seems very close to just being protection, right? Hexproof from that color and can't be blocked by creatures of that color. It's not quite the same thing as protection. Not as good at blocking, obviously. Exile stuff from graveyards. Maybe that's the most relevant part of it. Coming in to play and attacking. Hitting them graveyards. Is that good enough to be like a standard sideboard card? I don't think so. I do like the evasion in limited. I'll be happy like picking this card. Potentially even like first pick in an aggressive limited deck. Is a format where exiling Graveyard Matters in the limited format too. I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating the ability. But the card doesn't quite tickle my fancy for constructed. It sort of reminds me, wasn't there like a green 3/2 that it was like 2 and a green for a 3/2, and when it attacked, you would exile a card in the opponent's graveyard, and they could either get like +1/+1 until end of turn, or you could like gain 2 life or something. Yeah, that Dino. That Dino sort of saw play. Deathgorge Scavenger. 3 mana 3/2, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you can exile a card from a graveyard. Yeah, the card didn't see like no play. You also got to attack as a 4/3 though. It was extremely fringe, yeah. And maybe that's what we can expect from this card. Like if it sees play, it'll be like as a fringe sideboard card. 2 mana is less than 3. You're not wrong about that. Sunset Revelry. 1 in a white sorcery. If an opponent has more life than you, you gain 4 life. If they control more creatures than you, get 2 1/1s. If they have more cards in hand than you, draw a card. This card's kind of sweet. It's like a mini timely reinforcements that can also draw a card, maybe. Yeah, actually, isn't this card really good? It's like a mini timely reinforcement. You're spending less than timely, too. You're spending 2 mana instead of 3. So timely would gain 6 and make 3 1/1s, which is more backbreaking against aggro. But the fact that this can cycle, if you're in like a control mirror or something, you can just play this to draw a card if they've got more than you. That seems relevant to me in terms of main decking this card. You're getting Bosch vibes from the art. It's a little, there's a little bit too much depth for this to be a Bosch painting for me, but I can see why it would remind you of Bosch for sure. A lot of crazy little things going on. Relevant that it's sorcery. Timely was also a sorcery. It's not irrelevant though. You think this card's decidedly better than Timely? I mean, its power level is more flat. Timely was either like this back-breaking card against aggro, or it was just like dead in a control mirror. Whereas this card is way less likely to be dead, but it's not going to be quite as back-breaking in at crushing aggro. Just like a better designed card, I think. Like, you probably shouldn't have a 1 mana or a main deckable card that just like beats all your aggro opponents. Anyway, Draven Exorcism, 1 in the white, exile target spirit creature with disturb or enchantment. Yeah, I think this card's main deckable. There's gonna be enough spirits, there's gonna be enough creatures with disturbs, and there's gonna be enough enchantments. It's a weird assortment of things that are getting exiled. But you can play like 1 in your main deck, and if it's super relevant, bring in more. If it's bad, take it out. More Throbbins. Throbbin! Unruly Mob was a reprint. Was really good in White-Black Sacrifice. Vanquish the Horde. 6 white sorcery. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Destroy all creatures. 8 mana is so much fucking mana. So for this to be a Wrath, there'd have to be 4 creatures in play, and that's not happening on turn 4. I guess this is gonna be like a turn 5 sweeper. Your opponent's going like turn 2 play, turn 3 play, turn 4 play. Then you can play this in limited. Or constructed, I suppose. I suppose we can consider it for constructed too. As a tokens answer? Yeah, I guess. Your opponent just like has that one threat they're murdering you with. This is an extremely expensive answer. Cyborg material? I don't know. It seems like there's gotta be better sweepers. There's just gotta be. The difference in resolution between the Vanquish the Horde on the left and the Vanquish the Horde on the right is really throwing me. Like on the left, you can't even really tell that he's standing on a pile of bodies, and then you look over on the right and it's like, oh my god. Anyway, we've completed section 1, which means it's time for me to take a break.